Now, we love a bit of darning on fast fashion therapy, but it's not the only thing that goes wrong with jumpers. There are other things. So I just wanted to show you this jumper I've had for quite a long time, and I usually love wearing it. But I noticed last year I stopped wearing it because, can you see, the sleeves got really long, and yeah, you can just roll it up. But I find after you've worn it a few times, then it just stretches and then it just gets really long, and it drives me crazy. So being that it's knitted, it's quite difficult to just, like, if it was woven, you'd better re-hem it, like cut it and create a new hem. But it's a little bit more tricky when something is knitted, because with the construction, it will just unravel. But there is a little secret on this jumper that I'm going to copy. So I don't know if you can see in the camera, this bottom bit on the side seam is actually ruched. And how they've done that, they've just added a bit of elastic into the seam. So I'm going to copy that idea and yeah, show you how next. So I just cut 2 small pieces of elastic, and I've chosen a thin elastic. In terms of where you can buy elastic, I'll put that on the blog post, because you can buy eco-friendly elastic that comes from a sustainable source, and which I do buy, but also you can pick it up from charity shops, which is where this one's come from. So you'll be using things that otherwise would have been thrown away. So what I've done is, I like the ruching on the bottom of the hem, so I want to create the same look. So I've measured the elastic to be the same. It doesn't look very long, but when you think you're going to stretch it as you sew it, and then that's what ruches up the fabric. So I've cut 2 pieces, 1 for each arm. And the way that I'm going to sew it, so be inside out, just follow the seam. I'm not going to go quite to the bottom, I'm going to leave that little hem there, and I'm going to sew it from there to there. But what I'll do is, as I sew, I'm going to stretch the elastic, and then that is what creates the ruching. Right, I've placed my elastic at the top edge of this ribbon, so I don't want the ribbon to be ruffled. And what I've done is, the needle is more or less in the centre line of the elastic. It doesn't have to be exact, it can be rough. And then the elastic is going to be sewn or stitched along this seam edge. As I sew, I'm going to pull the elastic. It needs to be quite tight, because otherwise it doesn't ruche very well. I've learnt that the hard way. And the most difficult thing is actually keeping the underside of the arm of the jumper, so you don't stitch the elastic to that as well. So I'm going to hook my thumbs into the other side, keep them out of the way, and I'm going to use my 4 fingers to hold the elastic. It doesn't have to be really straight, but you do need to make sure you're within this edge of the elastic, otherwise it won't stay in place. So first of all, I'm going to do a forward and back stitch. It just holds it in place. And then let's see how we go. And go really slow, because it's quite tricky. Just make sure I put it tight enough. I'm just going off the edge there, so let's just bring it over a bit. I'm pulling this elastic as tight as it will go. And just coming to the end. Let's just get that back in place. Just a little bit at the end. So as you can see, it's very wonky stitching, but that doesn't matter because you won't see it. So we just want to make sure that it has ruched, and hopefully you can see that there is ruching in there. So I just need to make sure it's enough to make it short enough for my arms. Okay, so I finished and I'm happy with that. But what happened was, on that first try with the smaller piece of elastic, I think the elastic I've got isn't very stretchy, so I found it didn't work. So I tried the jumper on, I was like, it's not working. So what I did was I cut a much longer piece of elastic and did it again, but I didn't bother unpicking, I just laid it on top and it's worked fine. Which you can see there's a longer piece there, and because I've used the matching thread, if I've gone slightly off the seam, it doesn't show. So I'm matching thread to the jumper rather than the elastic. And hopefully you can see how that's ruched. It's a great length. It's difficult to see in this video, I'm not tall enough. But it's much better length, and it's going to mean I'm actually going to wear this jumper rather than it getting on my nerves. So I'm very happy with that, and it didn't take very long.